I welcome you back for the AACT sponsored short-term training program on electrical vehicle technology. And today we are having an eminent person, Mr. Karthikeyan, Assistant Professor of Department of EEE. He has a wide range of research experience in electrical vehicle. He did several projects in electrical vehicle, final year projects in electrical vehicle in our college itself. He did his undergraduation in electrical and electronics engineering and post-graduation in power electronics and drives. And he had 3 years of industrial experience, and he have a vast teaching experience. And he presented various papers in the international and national conferences, and he published several papers in national and international journals. And he published a book, textbook on electrical energy generation, utilization, and conservation. So we are having an eminent person who have a practical exposure over this electrical vehicle. So we can gain more knowledge from him through this session. With this note, I welcome Professor Karthikeyan to share his views. Please, sir.
So, good afternoon once again. So, welcome all to our AACT sponsored STTP on electrical vehicle technology. So, electrical vehicle. So, what's the purpose of we are going to or we are moving to electrical vehicles today? It's not till satisfied because till now we are consuming the power indirectly from the non-renewable resources. So the people, those who are buying the electrical vehicle are eagerly explained that we are contributing in the pollution control, we are contributing in the sustainable development, but they are indirectly contributing the enhancement of burning of renewable energy, non-renewable energy. So we must consider why we are going for electrical vehicle. So it's a main thing. So some people, I did not mention all of them, some people think the electrical vehicle is a new one for our era. So it's a new thing for our generation. But it is not yet true. The race is start for both gasoline vehicle and electrical vehicle at beginning. But temporarily the normal vehicle, that is a IC engine vehicle, lead in the competition. It's a true one. Till day they are the leading role in the transportation. But the race start from the beginning. The both vehicle are on the same platform to start their life, but temporarily for nearly 100 years, the electrical vehicle go back. But today, the new type of lifestyle is going to come. That is a electrical vehicle era. So let me see the one introduction video. So how the electrical vehicle first dominate the life, then temporarily they did not able to dominate in the transportation, and finally how it returned back to the competition. Let me see one simple introduction video.
probably would be surprised as I was to find out that electric cars aren't a 21st century invention. That is, electric-powered motors came out pretty much at the same time as petroleum-driven engines. That is, the ones that run on fossil fuels like gas and diesel. Almost 2 centuries ago, in 1828, a Hungarian engineer named Anyos Jedlik invented the first prototype of the electric motor and used it to power a small model car. And he wasn't the only one with an interest in that sort of technology. In 1834, blacksmith Thomas Davenport created a similar device that could be driven at short distances using an electric track. Does that ring any bells? Think streetcars later on. And over in the Netherlands, university professor Sabrina Strate built a tiny electric car powered with non-rechargeable batteries. Now, even though the idea of a battery-powered vehicle was to revolutionize people's lives for the better, primary cell batteries, that's the use one and tossed kind, weren't the way to go for obvious reasons. They needed too many batteries to run the motor over long distances at such low speeds. It wasn't until 1859 when French physicist Gaston Plante invented the lead-acid battery that changed the electric engine game for good. Many countries began producing electric three-wheeled cars until the U.S. made a huge breakthrough. In 1891, they created the first electric vehicle. And get this, it was a 6-passenger wagon that could go up to 14 miles per hour. Hey, that was major back then. After that, people were thrilled, and the electric car market thrived. In the late 1890s, electric-powered taxis filled the streets of London. At that time, electric cars had many advantages over steam-powered and gas-guzzling engines. They didn't vibrate. They didn't give off that awful burning gasoline smell that we're all familiar with. And most importantly, they didn't require much effort to start. By the early 1900s, almost 1/3 of cars in the U.S. were electric-powered. But that wasn't going to last for long. By the late 1920s, infrastructure in the U.S. had improved significantly, and vehicles needed to go further more efficiently. So fossil fuel cars took the lead because they got the job done. You see, the top speed that electric cars could achieve was 15 to 20 miles per hour. That's about how fast you can go pedaling on your bike. Another problem was that electric-powered engines back then could only travel 30 to 40 miles on one go, which means they'd need charging every couple of hours. And things were about to take a turn for the worse, along with the improvement in infrastructure. That's when the electric starter was invented, and gasoline cars began using it alongside mufflers, which made their noise a lot more tolerable. Electric cars took their final hit in 1910, when Henry Ford began his mass production of gas-powered vehicles, which made them ridiculously cheap, whereas electric cars cost a lot more. Companies then realized that there was no room for electric automobiles on the market, so they stopped producing them altogether. Fast forward to the 21st century. We now have advancements in technology and a greater concern for the environment. Add a fear of running out of resources to fuel our vehicles, and it's no wonder automotive companies have decided to give electric cars another chance. The main difference between electric and fossil-fueled cars is that the e-cars can use a variety of renewable resources to generate their electricity. In fact, the science behind the electric car is surprisingly simple. Its basic principle is the alternating current, for which we have Nikola Tesla to thank more than a century ago. Before you understand the science behind that, let's back up and first cover the differences between direct and alternating currents. That's DC and AC for short, or AC/DC if you're into hard rock. An electric current is the movement of an electric charge that carries electrons. An engine, for example, can be powered by direct current, which means that the electrons flow in one direction only. For most things that run on DC, that's from the battery to whatever it's powering. The electrons that move along an alternating current, on the other hand, periodically and consistently change direction. It's pretty much all the electric power in your home, from your microwave to your game console. In short, if you could look at the two types of current on a graph, direct would be a flat line, and alternating would have regular uniform waves going up and down. Or to put it even more simply, DC would be like water running out of a bucket with a hole in the bottom. AC would be kind of like watching the water swish around back and forth if you open the lid of your washer and look inside. Okay, enough of that. So what about electric cars specifically? Well, most of them convert the direct current electricity from the batteries into an alternating current. Since electric cars don't have an internal combustion engine like gas-powered vehicles do, they use their space quite differently. You'd normally expect a big, bulky battery to be in the front under the hood, but it's completely different in electric cars. They have 7,000 lithium-ion batteries that sit under the flooring. This battery pack has a longer lifespan and a higher power density, which makes them ideal for powering a vehicle. But one of their vulnerabilities is overheating and thermal breakdown. That's why electric cars have coolant running between them to prevent overheating. And there's all kinds of interesting stuff at the back of the car. That's where you'll find the inverter, which is what converts that DC into AC and gives power to the engine. But it can't do that without the induction motor. It's also in the back, and it takes the alternating current that just came from the inverter and creates a rotating magnetic field that causes the motor to turn. Now, electric cars don't have a gearbox or lever, and all of them are automatic. They have a single-speed transmission that sends power from the induction motor to the wheels. This is how the electric motor transforms electrical energy into mechanical energy. That is, the physical power that turns the wheels and sends you on your way. But here's where it gets even more interesting. When you accelerate while driving, the car uses more energy. But when you brake, the energy is transformed into electricity through the induction motor. Then, that electricity travels all the way back to the battery pack and is stored so you can use it later. Now that's efficient. An electric car gets juiced up by being plugged into an outlet or a charging station, and they use 3 main levels of charging. The first level is the basic charging you can do at home. It uses an outlet of 120 volts and adds 2 to 5 miles of charging per hour. Then there's the second level. It uses electric vehicle supply equipment and has a higher voltage, 220 to 240 volts, to add 10 to 25 miles per hour of charging. Finally, the third and most efficient one is the direct current charging station, which does exactly what it says. It uses direct current to add up to 80% of the car's battery storage in less than half an hour. The cost of charging an electric car is dirt cheap as well. It'll cost you less than $5 to fully charge your electric vehicle at home, and you can get up to 150 miles on one charge. That, of course, depends on the size of the battery. Bigger electric cars with bigger batteries can cost up to $15 to fully charge, but they can cover up to 300 miles. Ooh, where do I sign? Now, electric cars are less expensive to run and maintain if we compare them to fuel-powered vehicles. But there's no denying that the car itself comes with a much higher price tag. But still, according to a recent study, the average operating cost of an electric car is $485 a year, whereas a fossil fuel automobile is $1,117. So that higher initial price should pay itself off over time. But there's still another problem. One of the most expensive components of the electric car is its battery pack. It'll cost you an arm and a leg to replace it if it breaks down. Expect anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 for replacement. But most electric car manufacturers give the battery at least an 8-year warranty for up to 100,000 miles, if that makes you feel any better about purchasing. The good news is that we're seeing a huge movement toward electric-powered vehicles as a strategy to tackle fuel emissions and reduce pollution. The head of automotive research in Europe predicts that by 2025, all cars in Europe will be totally electric or at least hybrid. And many countries are setting goals to lower their fuel emissions in the next few years. So, who knows? Maybe sooner than later, we'll all be zipping around in electric cars and gas guzzlers really will be a thing of the past. So, what about you?
Back to the presentation. So, from that, the electrical vehicle is not a new topic for us. This is a old one, but due to some technical issues, they are wait for the technical issues, and at the same time the development of the surprise development of induction combustion engine, for example turbo engines. This leads them electrical vehicles. So today we are going to say about the solar. So we are going to harvest the energy from the solar and feed to the electrical vehicle. So solar carport. So this is a methodology for a future. So requirement of electrical vehicle. So what's the purpose of we are moving to electrical vehicle? The key thing is the oil demand. So the oil is not a common source. So all of them know about that. It's not a common source. It is not available in the all the part of the world. It will acquire only in the Middle East. So due to that, we are more dependency on particular countries. So due to some political issues, so the government are afraid in future there are more political instability may arise in the Middle East. Things are start to grow in the news. So many political issues arise in the Middle East will directly affect the country like India, one of the most importing countries. Another one is our partner China. So both the countries will be affected very seriously. That's why the both countries are in the leading race to identify the new technologies and the new methodology to implement the electric vehicle for transportation. Because more than 60 to 70% of fuels are feed for the transportations. So the things we require first is energy security. So first thing, energy security. So this is a key point of every country. Energy security that will stabilize the country economic and growth. Then we move to the energy and its environmental impact. So second thing is energy and environmental impact. So why I placed energy security, because the energy security is one of the key thing for every government, not only for India, for every government. So because the energy is a key role in the economic development. Second thing, energy and its environmental impact, how it is damage the environment. Then third thing, the greenhouse effect and a carbon cycle. So most of them may know we are still paying the carbon tax along with the petroleum. So then acid rain. The result of burning of fossil fuel is giving acid rain back. Then global environmental concern. So let me see one by one. Then we move to the our main topic. So energy security. So energy security is a main of the national main policy because it role in the economic growth. So for every country, the energy security is one of the key thing for their economic growth. For example, to avoid the importing of fossil fuel. For example, let me imagine the fossil fuel is available throughout the world means no one able to bother about the anything. First thing is energy security. Second thing, the India is a continue to experience the energy supply. So after the 1985, particularly in 1990, after that the rise of the Indian economy due to the globalization. So the rise of demand of fossil fuel is rapidly rising from minimum to maximum. Due to that, the government cannot able to give the subsidies. Another thing, the government now today they are realized the main income is from the tax of fossil fuels. So let me go to the initial. In 1990s, the rise of oil demand will increase the more to the Indian economic that will impose the to reduce the subsidies on the fossil fuel, because in early stage the government provides some subsidies to maintain the fuel as a lowest cost. So after 1990s, the subsidies cost is very high. So the government cannot be able to tolerate that. So step by step they are leave that subsidies. Today they did not give any subsidies for the fossil fuels. So energy and the environment. So for an industrial purpose or our home, we required energy. It is in the any form. Then the natural gas, in previous days charcoal, then kerosene. Today electrical, any energy sources, the industrial, we have two output. One is emission and another from is output products. So the energy and its environmental impact while we are using, let me think it is a industrial process is a one transportation vehicle. So we are providing the energy. So the emission will affect the environment. So due to that, we must reduce that emission by means of clean technology. So greenhouse effect. So this is because of only because of burning of fossil fuel. So fossil while we burning the fossil fuel, ultimately we emit the sulfur. So did you imagine I am using an electric vehicle? So there is no emission. But the problem is while you are using electric vehicle, you are going to charge from the EV. So then the EV will generate the electricity from the coal. So while you burning the coal, ultimately the sulfur will be out. So the sulfur will affect the atmosphere. So due to that, high amount of carbon dioxide and the carbon monoxide, this is emitted from the particularly from the transportation vehicle. So yes, so because most of the people using today by means of public transport or the private transport, they are using fossil fuels. So burning of fossil fuel, it will emit the carbon monoxide. So while the high amount of carbon monoxide, because in the city side, the density of the vehicle is very high, but in case of rural outer area, the roads are very low. That's why the density of the vehicle is very low. Due to that, it will dissolve in the atmosphere. But in the urban area, in the dense city, we have more number of vehicle which give the carbon monoxide that will affect the total environment. Due to that, we have more amount of greenhouse gas emission and high carbon. So the worldwide they are giving the rating that is called carbon rating. So the every country have the carbon rating. So which is must be the neutral one. For example, in our country, for example, 1 tons of oxygen is emitted by the trees. Then they are calculating the how much vehicle present in the country and how much industries present in the countries and population. They are calculating how much carbon dioxide is emitted from the particular area. So they combined the each one and giving the carbon rating. So this is a carbon rating for every countries. So no one countries did not give the neutral carbon. That means the production of carbon is less than the production of oxygen. So due to that, the government have promised to reduce the carbon emission and increase the oxygen production. There is only one country which have the good carbon rating, that is Bhutan, our friendly nation, Bhutan. The Bhutan have the very low carbon emission because it is a small country. They did not bother about the GDP. So GDP is they did not bother about the GDP. They are the Bhutan is not a democratic country. It's a king ruling country. So they are interested in the people happiness rating. So people happiness rating. So they did not include such industries in their country. Due to that, they have less carbon emission. So Bhutan is have the good carbon rating country. So as it nine, so ultimately, while we are using the normal electrical generation, that is from coal, that will lead to the acid rain formation, because while you burning the coal, it ultimately producing the sulfur dioxide. So once it mingle with the H2O, ultimately we get H2SO4, that is a king of acid, the sulfuric acid. So percentage of sulfuric acid present in the rain is very, very low. That is 0.01% only, but that will damage the pH value of the soil. So every soil have the pH value. So once it reach the acidity level, so it will damage the microorganism. So once the microorganism will be reduced, the plant cannot be able to get the nitrogen. Due to that, the growth of plant will be reduced. So this is not directly reflected in the life, but it will be slowly, it will show the result. So global environmental concern. So due to the rise of high amount of carbon dioxide, so carbon dioxide have the characteristics of absorbing the heat from the sun. So it also increase our atmospheric temperature. Due to that, we have more environmental impact. So why we are using electrical vehicle? So first thing, increase in automobiles. So we have a well-developed country. So the transportation is one of the main important thing. So some of them said this is a blood vessels. The road is a blood vessels. So you have blood vessels. There is no blood flow, means it is not good for our human body. That's why in our the country required that vehicle movement. So we required more number of vehicles. So this will increase the automobile counting. That increase the automobile. Then reserve, oil reserve. So already we discussed that the oil is not present in the India. Only 10 to 15% of our consuming oil is from our country. The balance 85% of oil is imported from the various countries. So increase in greenhouse emission, this is also discussed. So greenhouse emission because due to the burning of the fossil fuels. So electrical vehicle concept. So electrical vehicle concept due to the development of power electronics. So the power electronic is a key thing for the development of electrical vehicle, because today we are using V/F controlled method in the electrical vehicle. For a induction motor is a drive, and V/F method is used to control the induction motor. There we are using inverters. So inverter development of inverters, especially IGBTs, will encourage the scientists to involved in the electrical vehicle. So then storage, the development of batteries, example lithium ion batteries. So I did not think so. The most of the research are going to interested with supercapacitor or otherwise known as ultra capacitor. So after that, most of the vehicle will run by using this type of charging, because ultra capacitor will charge within 5 minutes. So regenerating braking. So regenerating braking is one of the best fuel consuming in the electrical vehicle. So another thing is a clean. So in present, it is a clean and a safety for efficient road transportation. So it is not same like a electrical vehicle, normal fossil fuel vehicle. So it have different categories. So electrical vehicle have different categories. Each of the companies use different method. They are using hybrid. They are using different charging methodology. So let me see one by one. So electrical vehicle energy consumption is there today is directly from the thermal power plant. Sir, thermal power plant, because in our country more than 50 to 60% of our power generation is come under the thermal power plant. So the people did not encourage the nuclear power plant. For example, in France, they are using nuclear power plant. They have high number of nuclear power plant. In Japan, they have also a nuclear power plant. So nuclear power plant have some disadvantages. Due to that, the nuclear power plant is not encouraged today. So then fuel cells. So moving to the fuel cells is also one of the method. We are still going through the fossil fuel, because today the hydrogen generated from the hydrogen generation is most 80 to 90% from the fossil fuel, especially natural gas. The natural gas is nothing but methane that is digged from the ground. So it is combination of hydrocarbon. They are extracting the hydrogen from the hydrocarbon and stored in the tank. So due to that, they are extracting the hydrogen from hydrocarbon. The balance thing is carbon dioxide. So ultimately, there is no goal achieved, because the industries, they are releasing the tons and tons of carbon to the atmosphere by separating the hydrogen. Due to that, some countries, they are planning to dig the carbon dioxide into the deep of the sea, but it is not economic one. So for fuel cell vehicle, so fuel cell vehicle is one of the good advertised vehicle. It is competed by the more companies, but the problem is, what is the current scenario? How much of hydrogen is produced from the renewable? We can segregate that. The power generated, that is the hydrogen generated from the renewable energy, is nearly 4% only. The balance things are from the fossil fuel based production, especially natural gas. Natural gas is the more thing. Second, oil, the fossil fuel oil, and third, gasification. So the gasification is done this is also done indirectly, because the gasification have different methods. For example, bio, then another thing, coal. So coal also involved in the gasification. We get carbon, hydrocarbon that will used to produce the hydrogen. So in the 96% of hydrogen used in the electrical vehicle. Mean, how can we define that a electrical vehicle is good for the environment, that will not producing the harm to the environment? How can you said that the electrical vehicle is clean and good for the environment? So we cannot able to get that claim that electrical vehicle is good for environment, because the fuel cell is for clean for the environment, because more than 96% of the hydrogen is from directly from renewable non-renewable sources. Wow. So it may be seen that it is a clear one. The fuel cell vehicle is a very clear one. The wastage of fuel cell is pure water. That may be a good news. But the problem is the current scenario. We must accept the current scenario. So many arguments are going on, but we must accept the current scenario. 96% of hydrogen is produced from non-renewable energy sources, because that is economic for the hydrogen production. So from the electrolysis method or other method, that is not economic one. Hydrogen production from the non-renewable energy is economic one today. So hydrogen production is not a new thing for our community. So because they are producing the more hydrogen for fertilizers. So fertilizer production, especially ammonium and some resins. Then what is the purpose of ammonium? So it is a main product, main fertilizer for the crops. And another thing, strengthening of steels. So by pumping the pumping the oxygen, we are strengthening the steels, and it is used for annealing and forming the gas. And another thing, one of the important use of hydrogen in power generation station. The hydrogen cooling is one of the important method for efficient cooling. So hydrogen cooling. So even though it may be a danger, but it is very efficient cooling method. Previous day we are using demineralized water. Then general industries like semiconductor industries, propellant fuel, and gas production, glass production, hydro generation, and cooling of generators. So world hydrogen productions. So from natural gas, oil, coal, and electrolysis. So electrolysis is only 2 metric ton. For example, 50 metric tons of hydrogen is production in the world. That will lead 2 metric ton is only from electrolysis. Here it is not indicate the electrical power for electrolysis is from renewable energy. Then today's scenario, usage of hydrogen. So more than 28 metric tons of ammonia is hydrogen is used for producing ammonia, and 13 is for refining, 5 is for methanol production, and other uses only the transportation will be occur. So which type of hydrogen production is good for the environment? Once the power production from the renewable energy sources. So that is by using wind energy conversion. Another thing, solar power generation. So then it is using the electrolysis method, power electrolysis method, and producing the hydrogen. So some people ask why the India did not implement this method, because the surplus production of power. So some countries have high installed capacity of renewable energy. For example, they required only 5 megawatt of energy. They are installed 10 megawatt energy in the solar panel. That country can have 5 megawatt of surplus energy in the productions. So at that time, they can move towards the hydrogen production by using that surplus energy. So in our India, the surplus is not a word in particularly in power generation. We did not move to other concept. So the surplus is not a word used in the power production, because till now we are producing under our requirements. We are nearly under our requirements. So once we reach the surplus amount of power by using renewable energy, then only we can think about the conversion. Then supercapacitor. The supercapacitor is one of the type of normal capacitor. So, but the thing is, the supercapacitor are high energy density. Compared to the normal capacitor, it is high energy density and high power density and high capacitance and a longer life. So here I like to include one thing. So in our college, our students are implementing the solar operated vehicles. They are using electric motor to run the vehicle. So ultimately we have the regenerative braking. So the regenerative braking occurs for particular time, for short time. So we are using lead acid battery. So the charging speed of the lead acid battery is not such high. So we cannot be able to harvest the power generated from that particular regenerative braking. So the students are implementing the capacitor as a temporary storage. So we estimate the power generated in the particular regenerative braking. So it stores the energy temporarily in the high storing capacity capacitor. After that, the DC to DC converter will slowly charge the lead acid battery. So due to that, they are consuming the power from the regenerative braking, even though I am using slow charging batteries. So this is a temporary one. So we are moving towards the supercapacitors. So high energy density. So supercapacitors have high energy density and high power density and high capacitance and longer life. So then supercapacitor, it is otherwise called ultra capacitor. So it is normal like a capacitor, but the thing is it have high energy density. So the world is not only go along with the lithium ion batteries, they are also research towards the ultra capacitor. So once the ultra capacitor is successfully installed in the electrical vehicle, and the cost is come under the normal thing, the world will be simply drop the lithium ion battery and move towards the ultra capacitor, because if it happens, it is same like our normal fossil fuel vehicle or our petrol diesel vehicle, because how much unit you required, and simply they are charging your vehicle very speed. So these are the things we have discussed. So let me move to the why we are see this the electrical vehicle. So because our motto is to charge the electrical vehicle by using the solar. That is our main motto. So let me move to the solar. So solar cells. The solar cell is a very good development to convert that electric and light energy into electrical energy. This is a simple PN junction diode. All of them may know. So it have three different types: monocrystalline, polycrystalline, and a thin film. So PV array. So PV array is also a simple thing. So the solar cell which producing the electricity, but the cells is not itself we cannot able to do any effective work. That's why we are using PV array. That means we need to increase the voltage and current rating. So the by combination of series and parallel connection, we are increasing the output. So this is a PV array. So single cells we producing the 1.4 to 1.5 volt. That is not enough. In the current is in the milliamps. That's why that is not efficiently used by the any type of load. That's why we required so PV array. So single array will producing them small voltage, but in the panel we have the combination of series parallel connection of PV cell that will producing the one normal voltage. It may be a 12 volt or 6 voltage with 1 amps. Then this is connected in series parallel combination as a PV array. We get the high amount of voltage with required rating of current. So in our topic we are using let me imagine 17 or 18 kilowatt hour solar panel for charging the electrical vehicle. So connections. So when you connected in the series, the voltage will be ultimately increased. Same like your batteries. For example, we are using the normal mercury batteries. That means 1.5 volt. When it is connected in series, the voltage is doubled or voltage is added. While we connecting in parallel, the current will be increased. The photovoltaic array connections. So the photovoltaic array connections, we required 24 volt. So we require 24 volt, and the current rating we have high amount of current rating means we increase the parallel strings. While we increase in the series string, the voltage start to increase. While you increasing them, parallel string means the current start to increase. So the problem is, so we are using 4 different panels. So 4 different places. So for example, one bird or sitting in the one panel, what will be happened? So one bird or a near current or near obstacles or a high amount of dust particles or a shadow of nearby tree fall in one particular solar panel, what will be happened? Because due to the fall of shadow, maybe happen due to any reason, the fall of shadow, which will reduce the voltage. Once the voltage is reduced, ultimately it will reduce the internal resistance, internal current flow, each thing, but it will not affect the balance thing. Due to that, another panel will produce more current and voltage. Here we have the low resistance will be varied. Due to that, high amount of I squared R loss will be increased. So I squared R loss will ultimately produced in the form of heat. So due to the increase in the heat will damage the panel. That is called shadowing effect. That can be eliminated by using the diode. That is a bypass diode. Suppose this panel have the proper sunlight, there is no issue. If the panel did not able to get the proper sunlight, at the time the bypassing diode will secure the panel and bypassing the current through the circuit. So that is a bypassing diodes. So we are interested to harvest the more power. So how to track the more power means here we have the PV, that is photovoltaic array characteristics. So first thing we must take the IV characteristics and PV characteristics. The higher point is taken as maximum power point area. So by that we are getting the terms called MPPT, maximum power point tracking. So this is an algorithm to get the maximum amount of voltage and current from the particular solar panel under in the all conditions. That is a MPPT, maximum power point tracking in the photovoltaic system. So we have different applications. Let me imagine. So here PV generator. So PV generator producing the power from sun and it is given to the DC to DC converter. Then it is given to the load. That is here the load is fuel vehicle. So otherwise the PV generator, then it is given to the inverter and then it is given to the AC load. So AC load is also a vehicle because today the electrical vehicle can accept low voltage AC voltage, low voltage AC, high voltage AC and direct current. So the single option is not only available in the electrical vehicle. Present electrical vehicle have three different options. So from home we are charging in the slow manner. So we cannot be able to give more power to the charger. So if it is a 20 kilowatt charging unit means we cannot be able to give certain power to the charging. That's why they have limited agents. For example, in our home we have nearly, in our India we have home voltage is 230 voltage. So it accepts the AC voltage and it converted into DC. Then it is given to the charger circuits. So in the charging stations, while you go into the charging stations, the charging station have high power capacity converters. High power capacity converters. So it can manage high power charging current. That's why the while you are going to charging station, the charging time is well reduced. So in our home we required 5 to 6 hours to charge the car. While you are going to the charging station, it will reduce the hours into minutes. So in 30 to 45 minutes is enough to charge up to 80%. So here the AC load is also a fuel in an electrical vehicle. So we are using batteries. So here PV generators. So here we have the station, we have the temporary batteries. Then it is converted and it is given to the DC load, that is a fuel vehicle. Suppose the generated power is more than our consumption. It is given to the home grid. So come to our main purpose, the solar carport piece. So this is nothing but a solar panel is used in the roof of our carport. So we are this method is applicable for the person who have the car for their transportation from home to their working companies. So That is our consumer. I am not discussed about the commercial vehicle owners. I am the person. I am using the electrical vehicle. I have one home and I have the parking space in the company. So I am talk about that small group of peoples. I am not discussed about the commercial peoples. For example, call taxis or erect in a commercial transport vehicle like buses. This thing. I am a person. I have one car or electrical car. I have the home to. I have the parking to, and I have used the electrical vehicle to travel to my office, and the office have also a park. There I am implementing the solar carport. So we have compulsory to build one carport or car parking area. So we are using solar panels. So solar panel, first thing it cover the car and prevent from the high sunlight. Second thing, it producing the electrical energy. That energy can be utilized to charge the car. That is our motto. So different area. So this is a arc type and this is a single car used port. This is a simple one. This is for commercial one. So method. So what are the methodology? Let me take two cases. Case 1. The PV carport analysis without the shading effect. Shading effect of the building or trees. So what are the difficulty means shading is one of the major difficulties because solar panel we get clear sunlight. Second thing, with shading. So without shading, ultimately give high amount of power. With the shading means it will reducing the power. That's why we are discussed about the shading effect of solar panel. Then case 1. Let me take 7.3 kilowatt power as a solar panel available for calculation purpose. So here we are using 54 photovoltaic model. Is used in the MATLAB at a 180 degree. This is for the sun rising angle. That is a smooth angle facing south and a 30 degree slope angle according to the geographical location. This is a value taken to get the more power in our campus. So case 1. This is a 17.3 kilowatt power. This is a how can we implement in the MATLAB point of view? Because we are taking the level, sunlight level by using lux meter. So every day they are taking the value by using the lux meter. From that we are calculating the irradiation level. So while you implementing the irradiation level in the MATLAB, we get the output power. From that we are calculating and charting the value. So we did not implement the total things. We simply take the illumination level for every month randomly and calculating the irradiation and implementing this irradiation into the solar cell in MATLAB. Then we get the output. From that we are plot the chart. So especially the tropical countries like India, we get more amount of power from the solar. So the case 2. So with the shading effect. So with the shading effect, ultimately we have different. This is just a imagination. So this is because of shading of buildings and trees, nearby trees. So due to that, we can able to understand case 1 have leading role, but it is not practically available because the car parking present in the office may escape from the case 2, but in our home, ultimately, the trees and a building shadow may fall in the roof. So type of carport. So we have 3 different carport. So mono pitch, duo pitch, and a barrel arc. So barrel arc, this is already we seen that this is a barrel arc. So mono pitch and a die pitch. So this is quite good when compared to the barrel arc. So if it is a barrel arc, we are order separate designed solar panel. So comparison of mono pitch. So from that we are tilting 5% to 10%. What's the output? So already we get the chart. We are just change the value. So while we tilt 30 degree length, 35 degree. That means we are increasing the degree. So if we increase 5%, that will reduced. It will tilt 10%. That means we are tilting 5 to 10% towards the sun. Towards the sun, we get high amount of power when compared to the 5%. If it is a stable one, we did not bother about that. We have the values. If I tilt 5%, if I tilt 10%, so tilt means we are focusing towards the sun with the limit of 5% and 10%. So we are compared with duo pitch. This is also similar, lightly similar with the duo pitch. So this is also get our output. The same thing. We are compare with the 3 things. So mono pitch is a efficient one when compared to the other things. So mono pitch is nothing but we are using slanting. So what the main advantage is the heat that is absorbed from the sunlight is also escaped due to the slant construction. So due to the slant construction, the heat will be goes out naturally. So another thing, which type of car roof design preferred? Single row car roof and a double row. So double row is a efficient one because when compared to the single roof, double roof we are using single pillar only. So configuration of PV standard. So we are using mono or dual or barrel type or barrel arc type. So motor is to producing the electrical energy. That electrical energy is converted into DC to DC converter. Then it is given to the control center. So the control center, the purpose is to charge the electrical vehicle. So charging the electrical vehicle, the balance power. Suppose I am designed the my panel to charge the 3 vehicles at a time, but after one particular time there is no available of vehicle. For example, only one vehicle available in charging station. Now the balance power is returned back to the supply. One thing. Second thing, suppose it is a morning period or the sunny region, a cloudy time. Due to that, the solar panel cannot be effectively producing the electric power. So at the time, the power is harvested from the grid and given to the control center. Then it charge the electrical vehicle. Let me imagine. So I have the clear sun, clear screen, clear sky. So the high amount of light fall in the solar panel. Due to that, high amount of energy is produced from the solar panel. So let me imagine I am my vehicle is fully charged. So now I go to the office. So port 1 that is present in my home, port 2 that is present in my office. So port 1. So I imagine that the starting condition, the vehicle is fully charged. So port 1, I disconnect from the solar carport and moves towards the office. Let me take the office is in around 50 to 100 kilometers. So I lose my 60 to 70 percentage of energy and reach to my office. So now I connected to the phase 2, that is office solar charger. So the office have the high amount of power that charge the solar panel because I have more than 7 to 8 hours of working in my office. So the vehicle also have the time to charge back. So that charge is taken from the sun, not from the fossil fuel or any other non-renewable energy. So at the end of my day, that is 5 to 6 p.m., my vehicle is fully charged. So take that vehicle. The phase 1. The phase 1, I have the solar panel. So the panel which store the energy to the battery which is present in the home. Suppose I am not interested to put the batteries because the high amount of energy is stored in the batteries will lead to the cost. That's why the power generated by the panel which in the home is used to charge our UPS or load my energy demand, or else I have separate battery in the home. That battery will store the energy which is produced from the solar panel, that is a carport. Now I return back to the home from port 2 to port 1. So I reach my home with a charge of only 40% or 50%. My charged energy is returned back to the car. With some losses may arise, but the power harvested from the sun, there is no input energy. That's why my journey is full of emission free. I have eagerly said that I did not producing any harmful gases to the atmosphere. I did not producing the smoke to the atmosphere because I am charging in the both end by using the clear energy, that is solar. So in this method only we can say that electrical vehicle is a clean and energy. So the MPPT algorithm is used to help to producing the high efficient output. Let me move to the next step. So smart, we are including smart. That means we are implement in the commercial values. So commercial value means we are including some artificial intelligence and a microgrid environment. So artificial intelligence which including the or make the circle in the effective manner. That is, we have mentioned that microgrid. So in Tamil Nadu government, it have some EB policy. if you are producing the renewable energy sources, for example, I am producing wind energy conversion system. So I have load in Chennai. So Chennai is not a place for producing the wind energy conversion system, but I am interested to producing the renewable energy power generation. Means you can install the renewable energy plant in the Kayathar or in the south region, like Kanyakumari. I am installed 5 megawatt of wind power conversion system in Kayathar, and I connected this into the grid. So I have an office or industry in the Chennai. I am going to harvest that 5 megawatt of power. Means now my capacity of real load is 3 to 4 megawatt of energy. Let me take 3 megawatt of energy. So in Kayathar, I am producing 5 megawatt of energy. My requirement is 3 megawatt. So I pay 10% of grid value. It means grid charge. Then I return back my power in Chennai. I producing the power in Kanyakumari and get the power in Chennai with the payment of 10% grid charge. This is one method, but it has some additional charges that is included in the recent days only. So in industries, in power industries, we have more power generation and a regenerating process to the home also. So then we have the solar panel for power generations that is provided and give the power to the microgrid. And our hero means in the presentations. So that is a carport. So every carport have producing the power, that charging the electrical vehicle, and some cases it return back to the grid, and some cases it take the power from the grid. Then battery bank. This is a commercial thing now, but not started in our country, because the battery connecting to the grid. So charge the power in the normal time and providing the power in the peak hour. That is one of the commercial power handling method, because we are using the normal tariff method. So if you consume power in morning 6 o'clock, have 1 rupees, means evening 6 o'clock also 1 rupees. So we did not have any variation in the tariff. But some countries, they have different tariff. So while you harvest the power in the peak hour, means the cost is very, very high. So when the demand reduced, the cost also reduced. So one of the tariff method. So we did not go to that one. So in the microgrid, the carport also have the participation to charge the electrical vehicle and charge the grid too. Some cases it harvests the power from the grid too. So what's the thing we are learned from the carport? It's a simple thing. So how it occupies the more valuable things in the environment. So it is a cheap and a clean solar power. So solar, we have no other moving parts or mechanical parts, any other harmful part in the solar. So due to that, it is a very, very clean, and the manufacturer gave 25 years of warranty to the solar panel. So it has a life, and in the long range it is comparatively cheap, and once you charge the electrical vehicle by using the solar panel, it will be reduced the oil dependency, and a couple of too many may be conveniently done using the vast area according for turning them into a solar carpet for electrical vehicles. Such carpets are growing interest because solar panel both charge and shade the vehicle and may feed the grid, and the vehicle themselves may feed the grid too and support it and give important to our life. Okay. Thank you, Pa. Thank you. Thank you for your kind patience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Participants, if you have any doubt, you can ask now.
So at the end, we can see Tesla. So Tesla is one of the leading car manufacturing company. So let me see one small video related to the Tesla, how the Tesla car is running. One second.